Hello and welcome back to the channel. In my previous videos, we've taken a broad look at the PPRA framework, but today we're going deeper. This video begins our detailed section-by-section walkthrough of the core legislation itself, the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority Ordinance 2002, including all amendments up to July 7th, 2020. So if you're ready to move beyond the basics and get a comprehensive understanding of this critical law, whether you're a contractor, a government official, a law student, or simply an engaged citizen who wants to know how public funds are managed, then you're in the right place. We'll analyze each provision, breaking down the legal language with clear, practical examples. I'd recommend having a copy of the ordinance handy, but you can also just follow along on the screen. Let's begin our deep dive. We'll begin with the preamble, which sets out the purpose of the law. An ordinance to provide for the establishment of Public Procurement Regulatory Authority for regulating public procurement of goods, services, works, and disposal of public assets in the public sector, whereas it is expedient to provide for the establishment of a Public Procurement Regulatory Authority for regulating procurement of goods, services, works, and disposal of public assets in the public sector, and for matters connected therewith or ancillary thereto. In simple terms, the preamble states that this law is being created for one primary reason: to establish an authority called the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority, or PPRA. This authority's job is to regulate how public bodies buy goods and services, get construction done, and even how they sell or dispose of public property. The goal is to bring order and good governance to these activities. Now let's move to Chapter 1, Preliminary. Section 1, Short title, Extent and Commencement. Subsection 1. This ordinance may be called the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority Ordinance 2002 as amended up to July 7th, 2020. Subsection 2. It extends to the whole of Pakistan. Subsection 3. It shall come into force at once. This section is straightforward but important. Subsection 1 gives the official name of the law. Subsection 2 establishes its jurisdiction. This law applies everywhere in Pakistan. Subsection 3 means it became effective the moment it was promulgated with no waiting period. Next up is Section 2, the definitions. This is a critical section because these terms are used throughout the ordinance. We will go through one by one. A. Authority means the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority established under Section 3. Simple enough. When the law says authority, it means the PPRA itself. B. Board means the board constituted under Section 6. This refers to the governing body of the PPRA, which we'll discuss in detail when we get to Section 6. C. Chairperson means the chairperson of the board. The chairperson is the head of the board of the PPRA. CA. Disposal means auction, rental, lease, donations, destruction, and recycling of public assets or any combination thereof. This clarifies that PPRA's rules cover not just buying things, but also how government bodies get rid of assets. This includes everything from auctioning old vehicles to leasing out government land. D. Fund means the fund established under Section 9. This refers to the official fund of the PPRA, which finances its operations. More on this in Chapter 4. E. Goods means articles and objects of every kind and description, including raw materials, products, equipment, machinery, spares, scrap material, and commodities in any form, and includes all type of assets such as immovable property, physical objects in any form or matter, intangible assets, goodwill, intellectual property, and proprietary right, as well as service incidental thereto, if the value of these services does not exceed the value of such goods. This is a very broad definition. Goods aren't just physical items. It includes raw materials, machinery, and even intangible things like software licenses or intellectual property. It also clarifies that if a service is included with the goods, like installation or configuration, it's still considered a procurement of goods as long as the service costs less than the item itself. For example, a public university buying a new server, the good, that includes installation and configuration, the incidental service, would be a procurement of goods. F. Managing Director means the managing director appointed under Section 8. This is the chief executive officer of the authority, responsible for its day-to-day administration. G. Member means a member of the authority. This refers to a member of the PPRA board. H. Misprocurement means public procurement in contravention of any provision of this ordinance, any rules, regulations, orders, or instructions made thereunder, or any other law in respect or relating to public procurement. This is a key term. Misprocurement is the official word for any procurement process that breaks the rules laid out in this ordinance or any related regulations. It's essentially an illegal or non-compliant procurement. If a ministry awards a contract worth millions to a bidder without a public advertisement as required by the rules, that is a clear case of misprocurement. I. Prescribed means prescribed by rules made under this ordinance. When you see the word prescribed, it means that the specific detail or procedure is laid out in the rules that the government will create based on this ordinance. J. Procuring agency means 1. Any ministry, division, department, or any office of the federal government. 2. Any authority, corporation, body, or organization established by or under a federal law, or which is owned or controlled by the federal government. This defines who has to follow these rules. It's essentially any part of the federal government and any organization that is owned or controlled by it. This includes not just the Ministry of Commerce, but also state-owned enterprises like the National Highway Authority. JA. Public asset means all types of goods owned and possessed by the procuring agency. This connects back to the definition of disposal. A public asset is anything of value, tangible or intangible, that a government agency owns. K. Public fund means the federal consolidated fund and the public account of the federation and includes funds of enterprises which are owned or controlled by the federal government. This defines the money pool we're talking about. It's not just the main government budget, but also the funds of state-owned enterprises. If public money is being spent, PPRA rules apply. L. Public procurement means acquisition of goods, services, or construction of any works financed wholly or partially out of the public fund and includes disposal of public assets and commercial transactions between procuring agency and private party. This is the core definition. Public procurement is the entire process of buying goods and services or getting construction done using public money. It also includes selling assets and certain public-private partnerships. M. Regulations means regulations made under this ordinance. N. Rules means rules made under this ordinance. These two are related. The ordinance is the main law. The government can then make rules to carry out the purposes of the ordinance. The authority itself can make more detailed regulations on specific procedures. Think of it as a hierarchy: ordinance, rules, regulations. O. Service means any object of procurement other than goods or works. This is a catch-all category. If what you're buying isn't goods or works, it's service. This includes consultancy, advisory services, cleaning services, IT support, etc. P. Works means any construction work consisting of erection, assembly, repair, renovation, or demolition of a building or structure or part thereof, and includes incidental services if the value of those services does not exceed that of the works. This defines what construction activities are covered. It includes building, repairing, or demolishing anything from a building to a bridge. It also includes related services like site mapping, as long as the cost of those services is less than the main construction job. Chapter 2. Establishment of Authority. Chapter 2 officially creates the PPRA. Section 3. Establishment of Authority. Section 1. There is hereby established an authority to be called the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority. Section 2. The authority shall be a body corporate, having perpetual succession and a common seal, and shall, by the name assigned to it, sue and be sued by the name assigned to it. Section 3. The headquarters of the authority shall be in Islamabad. Section 3 brings the PPRA into legal existence. Section 2 makes it a legal entity. Body corporate means it can own property and can be taken to court in its own name. Perpetual succession means the PPRA continues to exist even as its members change. Section 3 sets the head office in Islamabad. Section 4. Power of the federal government to issue directives. The federal government may, as and when it considers necessary, issue directives to the authority on matters of policy, and such directives shall be binding on the authority. This section is about oversight. It clarifies that while the PPRA is a regulatory body, the federal government can give it binding policy instructions. The government has the final say on policy matters. For example, the government could issue a policy directive that all procuring agencies must prioritize environmentally friendly products. The PPRA would then have to incorporate this into its regulations and monitoring activities. And Section 5, Functions and Powers of the Authority. Section 5 is crucial. It lists the specific powers and functions of the PPRA. Subsection 1. Subject to other provisions of this ordinance, the authority may take such measures and exercise such powers as may be necessary for improving governance, management, transparency, accountability, and quality of public procurement. Subsection 1 is a broad mandate. The PPRA's main goal is to do what's necessary to make public procurement transparent, accountable, and high quality. Subsection 2. Without prejudice to the generality of the powers conferred by subsection 1, the authority may A. Monitor application of the laws, rules, regulations, policies, and procedures. B. Monitor the implementation of and evaluate laws, rules, regulations, etc., and recommend reformulation thereof or revisions.
C. Recommend to the federal government revisions in or formulation of new laws, rules, and policies. D. Make regulations and lay down codes of ethics and procedures for public procurement. E. Monitor public procurement practices and make recommendations to improve governance, transparency, accountability, and quality. F. Monitor overall performance of procuring agencies and make recommendations for improvements. G. Provide and coordinate assistance to procuring agencies for developing and improving their institutional framework. H. Submit reports to the government. I. Call any functionary of procuring agencies to provide assistance and call for any information. And J. Perform any other function assigned to it by the federal government. Subsection 2 gives us the specific jobs of the PPRA. A and B. It acts as a watchdog, monitoring if procuring agencies are following the law and evaluating if the laws themselves are effective. C. It advises the government on how to improve the legal framework. D. It can create its own detailed regulations and codes of ethics. E and F. It monitors the performance of government agencies in procurement and suggests ways for them to improve. G. It acts as a support center, providing assistance and training to help agencies get better at procurement. H and I. It must report to the government and has the power to demand any information it needs from any procuring agency. And J. Finally, it must perform any other related task given to it by the government. And that covers the first 2 chapters of the ordinance. We've defined the key terms and established the PPRA and its core functions. In the next section, we'll dive into Chapter 3 to see who actually runs the authority, the board, and the managing director. Stay with me.